Hi there, friends. Brian King here. About a month or so ago, I took on the personal challenge of eliminating swearing from my repertoire of communication. And what inspired it was really a simple reason. During the school year, our youngest son, Connor, who's 13, he's a very literal thinker, and he was very distressed about something. It turns out that we had been giving our kids the message that it's not okay to swear, don't use that language, watch your mouth, that kind of stuff, while I reserved the right to cuss in front of my kids. And then he would go to school and would listen during the lunch period as his classmates would curse like sailors. And we were telling him he was not allowed to do it. And he was concerned that it was somehow disenfranchising him, not making him cool like the other kids. He couldn't bond with them because he couldn't swear too. And it occurred to me in that moment, hey, Big Bri, you're being a hypocrite. You're saying one thing, but you're doing another. And if there's one thing that I really value, it's being a consistent model of my values to my kids. And I found out in that moment that I blew it. And since the higher priority for me was for my son to learn a much more diplomatic way of presenting himself in public, I realized that instead of saying, well, son, go right ahead, curse to your heart's content, because if dad's going to swear, so must you. That was not my approach. I said instead, all right, buddy, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I've asked you not to swear, so I'm going to model that for you. So the first thing I needed to do was make the decision that this was something I was going to monitor within myself, something I was going to take responsibility for, to insist upon a higher class of discourse. Now, one thing I want to point out, and this has irked me consistently when I see it, every now and then I see these articles about how psychologists say that people who swear are more honest. I think that's baloney. And I've seen other articles where it says psychologists say that people who swear are more intelligent. Again, that's baloney. I just simply can't buy that one has anything to do with the other. And the reason is this. In my experience with my own emotions, my own swearing, and what I've seen from others, if anything, swearing is an indication of emotional reactivity. That something happens that frustrates you, or you have an inner story that makes you a victim. Something went wrong in your life. Something isn't fair. And you respond with frustration or anger, and a cuss word comes out. That's not intelligence. And it certainly isn't honesty. It's an emotional reaction to a moment of frustration and so on. So in doing the internal work of taking responsibility for your emotions, your perceptions of what's happening in the moment, you can change how you want to describe it. Do you want to describe it in a curse word, or do you want to describe it as, man, this did not go the way I wanted to. This is really frustrating. Now what am I going to do about it? But that's another layer to this whole experiment. It began, as I said, with my desire to do right by my child. And in doing so for myself, realizing I've got to become better at expressing my emotions. I've got to become better at managing these otherwise reactive emotions. And in doing that internal work, I discovered some pretty awesome things. I discovered that I was much calmer because I didn't have these words bubbling up in my head, these reactions of anger and frustration. I found that I was better able to describe my emotions because I wasn't relying on a single word expletive to just get the frustration out of my system. I rose my standards. Is that the word? Rose, raised? I don't know. As far as how I was going to experience life. You follow me? I was going to experience it more peacefully. I was going to be much more reflective and observant, because instead of allowing myself a reaction, I was encouraging myself to reflect. there's so much to this. It's only been like a month or two into this, but I'm realizing that for my own personal growth, I'm onto something here. It's not a matter of, well, you're not allowed to, or you're not allowed to swear, or it's inappropriate, or some other moral judgment as to why you don't do it. For me, it's about exploring my capacity to grow in some ways, to not take the easy way to approaching things in life. So, food for thought. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. And more importantly, if you decide to take on this challenge for yourself, let me know the results you get. And if there's anybody that you would like to hear this or do this experiment with to hold each other accountable, I want to hear from both of you. My guess is it's going to be a fun journey for you. So until we hear from each other, this has been Brian. Thanks for being you.